Thank you very much. I have the pleasure to introduce the speakers today. Before we come to the welcoming conclusion, first, thank you very much for our host, Christine Schneider, member of the European Parliament, member of the Committee of Envy, the new shadow rapporteur for Talk, and also our new chair for our work group, Health and Nutrition. Thank you very much that you find time for us. It shows us how important this topic is, and that you really skipped also to follow Ms. von der Leyen and choose our webinar today. Thank you very much for your time. The keynote we have today for this important topic is Patrick Coppens, Director of Scientific and Regulatory Affairs, Food Supplements Europe. Thank you that you are here today. Then we have Irene Papadopoulou, Director EU Relations Affairs, European Direct Selling Association, CELIA. Thank you for your time. And then, what is also a special pleasure, two remarks in Commission. Stephanie Darmanin, Policy Officer, Enforcement of Consumer Law and Cross-Border Cooperation, DG Just. And Volker Kulaki, Policy Officer for Food Legislation, Digital Health and Food Safety, European Commission. And we invited also the consumer protection organizations, but they could not have find the time today. But I have a short message or some points we could invite them in the discussion. And now I give the floor free for the welcome by Christine Schneider. Thank you very much. The floor is yours. Unmuting. So. Okay.
Good to go.
It's again muted.
Now, do you hear me? Hello?
Yes.
We hear you.
Okay. Good afternoon to everyone. It's a pleasure for me to welcome all to this webinar. As a member of the Envy Committee, my priorities are food safety, food and nutrition. I'm very happy to discuss with you today the challenges when it comes to misinformation about functional food, misleading claims and excessive pricing. While doctors fight against COVID-19, authorities find fraud, price hikes, and unfair competitions. The World Health Organization, WHO, said false claims are spreading faster than the virus and has already turned in an infodemic and planetary proportion. Major online platforms are already acting to limit their reach. In the European Parliament, we already tackled the problem of disinformation as well. We discussed the question on how to recognize and tackle COVID-19 myths, how can we recognize disinformation, and how can you help to stop it from spreading? What is the European Union doing about it? At a time when many people are worried and getting shocked news, it is more difficult to remain calm and fact-checked as needed. Even if people don't believe the misinformation, it may undermine the concepts of truth and expertise, so that a spontaneous tweet by someone without a clue is valued as much as a thorough analysis by an expert. As we continue our collective battle against the novel coronavirus, COVID-19, you may have some across various claims of food and supplements that supposedly increase our immunity against the disease. Misleading claims include sustainable safety claims, disinformation, selling substandard products, or demanding unjustifiable high prices. But therefore, there is another very serious concern I would like to share with you. With all the misleading claims, I'm extremely worried that people overdose on food, supplements, and nutrition. excessive consumption on certain vitamins and minerals through food supplements can have a negative impact on health. And in my opinion, it is necessary to set safe maximum levels of the addition of such food supplements at European level. I'm very interested to hear what your positions and ideas on this concern. Thank you. Let's start us with our discussion.
Thank you very much, Ms. Schneider. I think you brought two things I had not on my list. This is the overdose first. Yes, it is also the consumer by himself without misleading claimings who thinks much of this thing helps also much. So it could be a point of information. And the second thing, also the wider picture, the disinformation, who's coming from outside the internet, from some different sources who are not related with companies or platforms. It is, yeah, some myths who coming up who we are related with food and food supplements. And I think we have now the right starting point with Patrick Coppens, an expert. I think you can give us now the situation at the moment, what food supplements has to take in account, the producers and the industry, and where also food supplements can really help, in which way. But you can give us more information about this. The floor is yours, Patrick.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, host, and thank you very much for the kind invitation for Food Supplements Europe to be on this webinar. We represent companies that are manufacturing and selling food supplements and food supplement ingredients in the EU. And we have in our membership, we have national associations of food supplement manufacturers that cover large and small businesses, and we also have a number of direct companies as a member. When you go to our website, you will see that trust and credibility is really our core values of our association and of our members. So it's crucial to for the credibility of the food supplement sector that there is no misuse of this situation. Maybe for the audience, it's good to just remind people that food supplements are defined in European legislation, and they are defined as foods under the food framework, and they are products that are sold in those form and that can contain nutrients and other substances with a nutritional and physiological effect. And the safety, the composition and the labeling is subject to legislation already, not only at European level, but also at national level. Also, the communication of food supplements is regulated because you can only make statements on food supplements that have been authorized as health claims. And since food supplements are products that are marketed for specific purposes and for specific health purposes and purchased by consumers who actually expect an effect on their health, the truthfulness of such communication is key in order to maintain the image and the reputation, or to protect the reputation of food supplements. And in addition, as with all foods, it is explicitly prohibited to make disease-related claims, so claims relating to the prevention or the treatment of diseases. These are principles that our members take very much at heart, and if you go to our website, you can see that we also, as an association, have published numerous guidelines on how to act and how to maintain the safety, the quality, and also how to use health claims in a responsible way. And to respond to Mrs. Schneider in relation to maximum levels for vitamins and minerals, on our website is also a science-based document that proposes a way forward to harmonize maximum levels for vitamins and minerals in food supplements based on safety and based risk assessment. So it's very clear that consumers in the European Union can can be certain that the products that they buy in the shops physically, like in pharmacies or health shops and supermarkets or direct sales platforms, are very certain, are very safe and have a high quality, and are also communicated with health messages that are scientifically justified. Now, with the COVID-19 outbreak, we have seen that consumers have been looking into what role food supplements can play, and whether food supplements can be helpful. And it is obviously scientifically recognized that a lot of substances do have an effect on our immune system, and like for instance vitamins like vitamin C or D or A or B6, B12 and folic acid have specific roles in our immune system and are necessary for the good functioning of that immune system. And the same holds true for a number of minerals like selenium, iron, zinc, copper, to name a few. All these substances that are in food are used in food supplements in order to help maintain these physiological functions. These functions or these effects are important for good health. They are not very certainly not aimed at preventing diseases, and they are also not helpful in addressing the COVID-19 pandemic. And we have seen that there is an important interest in these products when the COVID-19 became important, and we have from the start from the start we have actually informed our members and have been very cautious to avoid that companies are perceived to be taking advantage of this situation because of using misleading claims, or even worse, exploiting the fear of consumers. And you will see also on our website that we have published a statement to that effect. The reality is that there are some unscrupulous sellers also on the market, and we have seen that some indeed misuse this pandemic, mainly on the internet, to gain a financial advantage by selling products with claims that are absolutely outrageous, that are absolutely not permitted. This is illegal practice, this is fraud, and we support very strong enforcement against such products. And we also note that especially in social media, a lot of incorrect information is circulating. Suggestions, recommendations on the use of not only food supplement but all sorts of remedies that could potentially stop or reduce the likelihood of a person getting COVID-19 infection. Well, this is absolutely outrageous, and the problem is that these channels are very difficult to control, so we can only urge consumers to be aware that they should not trust such messages, and that they should believe rather products that are on the market and are sold by reputable companies, because that's the difference that you can see in the market. So we also see that this concern is shared with member states, because quite a number of member states have also issued warnings to consumers not to believe such messages, and to be cautious when purchasing products that advocate effects that are simply not true. So that's a pity, and that's always when unscrupulous producers misuse the situation to discredit the reputation of a certain product category, and we regret that very much. But also, we should not have this lead to undermining the role and the important health benefits that food supplements can play for health, because food supplements do play a role in maintaining good health, and this is particularly relevant when I think, for instance, to elderly people, which are now very much targeted by this pandemic. We know that certainly when they live in elderly homes and healthcare facilities, they have a lack of exposure to sunlight. They have probably reduced food intake. They mostly suffer already from medical conditions, and making them resilient and making them particularly resistant against the effects of old age is really important, and that can be done by the help of food supplements, by protecting them from suboptimal intake of nutrients. And also the role of food supplements for public health as such is really underestimated. As you will see on our website, we have commissioned a number of reports that have assessed the potential of supplementation through food supplement with certain ingredients in relation to the reduction of the risk of certain diseases like cardiovascular disease and osteoporosis. And you can see from these scientific reports that there is a huge potential there to reduce the number of events, and also save a lot of money for the healthcare cost system. So as an organization representing food supplement manufacturers, we strongly believe that food supplements have a role for good health and should be an integral part of the Europe's health policy. And therefore, we look forward working with the policymakers in order to give food supplements their rightful place in policy actions that aim to make European consumers and citizens more healthy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Patrick, for this brief overview. I have only some little questions only. The problematic, is this with well-known food supplements products that third sellers are selling this under misleading claims, or are these products who coming from smaller companies, from unknown sources, who are trying to sell food supplements with these claims? Is this a general problematic of food supplements, or it's a part where we are becoming perhaps to irony also, where resellers are selling products with claims who are already questionable? What is the situation?
It's not a problem of companies, small or big. We have all trust in the companies that are, and certainly in small companies, they are also doing a lot of good work. They are under control of enforcement authorities here in Europe. What we see is that there are just unscrupulous people, individuals, that are seeing an opportunity to make money and do not have any restrictions to make outrageous claims. That is, it's also not much. It's like the same with safety issues with food supplements. These are mostly issues that are with imported products from individual small companies, or from individuals even, that are basically not respecting the law and that are discrediting the reputation. So what I think consumers can do is have trust in companies that are, for instance, part of a trade association. Because if you are part of a trade association, you are required, like with our association, you are required to follow the quality, the safety, the communication standards that should be followed. And I'm sure that this is something that our companies would not do. They would not misuse this situation, because it's all about credibility and trust in the products. And no one is going to risk its reputation of its products if they are important players.
I understand. And do you also, how you as or your members, how they enforce and control this the products, how they are sold? Is there something like an exchange also? Because I think it's also, if you're smaller, also more complicated to observe under which claims and so on your products are resold. Is there something exchanged with you? Is there a possibility that you can also act to support this?
Well, our members know that they can call us and contact us at any moment in order to get advice on things that they would not know. And in addition, as I have indicated, we have on our website, for instance, we have a whole guidance document on how to responsibly use health claims. And that is freely available for anybody, also for companies that are not a member. So this is not the problem. The problem is that some individuals are making false claims, are making claims that legally are not permitted. And this is not, I think, because they do not know. This is mainly because they do want to misuse an opportunity that they see.
Good, thank you. Thank you very much. And now we're coming to the next speaker, Irene Papadopoulou from Celdia. Resellers, I think now we are coming to the key point. They are close to consumers. So there are the group who perhaps misusing claims, or is this the group who are really also the quality savers, controllers to the consumers, the trust? What is the situation at the moment? What is your, at the moment, the overview in the situation, this crisis? Irene, please.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you for having me here today. I'm very happy to really hear really interesting information and views from everybody here. Maybe just to very briefly present you Celdia and direct selling. So Celdia is the voice of direct selling in Europe. We represent 28 national associations and 19 corporate members. For those of you who are not familiar maybe with the term of direct selling is a way of marketing and selling products directly to consumers. So it could be typically at the consumer home or at any other location away from the business premises. Really the essence of direct selling is the product demonstration and the product explanation. And we believe that consumers really can profit from having personalized advice provided by the direct seller and can definitely make a more informed choice. Now, in Europe, there are more than 6 million people involved and engaged in direct selling activities. A lot of direct sellers have reportedly chosen direct selling for their business because they do feel that in this way they have more flexibility and more freedom in order to carry out their business at their own pace, but also together with the support of the direct selling companies who do provide a lot of training and a lot of education tools for them. Among our members, of course, we have a lot of companies who do sell, of course, food supplements. It's a very important part of our business. As you can imagine, our companies and also our national associations do provide a lot of training to the sales force with regard to the food legislation. In Celdia, we do follow very much the situation now with COVID. We are, of course, very much alarmed by what we are seeing, and we are providing a lot of support to our companies. More specifically, our companies do also provide specific training for the products, but also as part of the training of the products, they do provide training on full compliance with EU legislation. For example, some companies have issued very recently guidelines which really explain how you can sell or market food supplements and what kind of claims you can make by providing specific examples. Our national associations as well also have started providing a lot of seminars, training sessions with regard to health claims. In Celdia, in order to provide further guidance, we have issued guidance documents to our companies and to our national associations, explaining what is the key legislation, what is a health claim, what the sales force can or cannot do as well. And we do provide very specific guidance to our companies, highlighting that they need, first of all, to maintain this systematic training that they do already have in place. Monitor the situation, as we already heard. Monitoring the situation, especially online, is really key. It's very difficult as well, but it's really key now with the increase of digitalization and social media. This is really key to ensure that any product that is sold by direct sellers is in full compliance with the EU and national legislation. We also urged our companies to actually take measures against any trader who does not comply with the legislation on food supplements and on food safety. And we also finally really urge them to have in place systems to resolve consumer complaints. Now, in Celdia, consumer protection in general is really key. We have adopted our codes, which also concern the relationship between the direct sellers and the consumers. Our codes go beyond the EU legislation on many aspects. But it is, of course, very much highlighted that any kind of claim or any kind of information that the seller provides to the consumer needs to be accurate, truthful, and as simple and easily understandable as possible. This is, of course, a reiteration of the existing consumer legislation, but it's also an indication of how much important it is consumer protection for our business, specifically because in direct selling, there is a relationship of trust between the direct seller and the consumer. So in addition to, of course, all the measures that I have described, last but not least, we are also going to have a conference in December, and there will be a specific workshop which will be dedicated on food supplements and the existing legislation. And we hope to have together with us the Commission and other EU regulators to support us. The purpose of the workshop will be, of course, to educate people on, again, on the existing legislation, on the strict requirements that are provided by the legislation, and what they can or they cannot do with regard to health claims. So this is in a nutshell what we have been doing with Celdia in direct selling, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I have also some questions. I think that it's a good way to train the resellers and to have the standards. But how I can recognize this as a consumer, that the reseller follow your standards, and what you can do if a reseller is not following the standards? And is there a possibility, I can go to the authorities, but is there also a possibility to contact Celdia or whoever to say there is something not right, this is obviously violating the standards?
Yes, I will probably reiterate what Patrick said here. First of all, you have to check the identity of the trader. If a rogue trader, for example, if a trader or a direct seller is member of a company which is member of Celdia, of course, the first thing that you have to do is contact us. As I mentioned, we have our codes of conduct with respect to ensuring consumer protection. So we have the so-called European Code Administrator. which is, it is a mechanism that we have set up who is going to help with resolving the complaint. In addition, of course, to what Celdia is doing, you can contact directly the company. And a lot of our companies have internally a mechanism of mediation or consumer complaints, of course, handling. So the consumer really has the possibility to choose between where he wants to go. He can go either to the company or he can contact us directly. We are very, very strict with regard to anybody not respecting the law. We have no tolerance, and really respecting the law and respecting the code of conduct is a requirement for the company. And the company then has to turn to the direct seller. As I mentioned, what we have been saying in our guidelines to the companies is that they need to take measures against the person who has done anything like that, and they need to actually impose sanctions.
Thank you very much. And I think, yeah, I hope I will now, if I'm buying such food supplements and so on, I will see, will have to give attention to this if I have these possibilities. And it's very interesting. I think we need also to inform the consumers about these possibilities. I think this is also very important that
Absolutely.
That you're working on this. And now we're coming to the Commission, and we have the first remarks from Stephanie Darmanin. And what we heard, I think it's what is also related cross-border. I think it's difficult. We have European common standards, but we have also member state standards. We have already resellers who are working cross-borders. We have now e-commerce as one of our main channels to buy food supplements and also other stuff. How to coordinate, how the European Commission, really the European Union can enforce this. Do we have an overview what's going on? Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me for this webinar, and I hope that the participants are finding it interesting as well. So actually, I'm going to walk you through the CPC action on misleading practices on platforms in the context of COVID-19, and I think it fits very well to what has already been said by the keynote speakers. So to give you some context, the Consumer Protection Cooperation Regulation, which is known as the CPC regulation, has been applicable since January 2020. And one of the biggest changes in comparison to the old CPC regulation is that the national consumer authorities have minimum investigative and enforcement powers. So now they can, for example, carry out mystery shopping, adopt interim measures, issue fines against traders, and even in the last resort, take down websites of rogue traders in a coordinated manner in case of a large-scale infringement. So these authorities, they come together and form a network and cooperate with each other and with us, the Commission, to address cross-border breaches of EU consumer law, which affects the collective interests of consumers. So these national authorities carry out an assessment of the business practices in question, and they compile together a common position of the CPC network. So coming back to the COVID-19 crisis, the Commission and these national consumer authorities are investigating infringements to the Unfair Commercial Practices Directive, and they collected examples of false and illegal claims which they find on these platforms. And I can only give you 3 examples which are very much in line with what already has been said, which is some claims which deceive consumers on the benefits or the expected results when using a product without providing official evidence. Some pressure selling techniques, for example, the trader claims that a product is only available for a limited period of time, and when this is not true, or excessive pricing. And here we see that the e-commerce directive also comes into play because platforms should also take corrective measures when they become aware of any illegal activity which is taking place on their website. So in the common position, the CPC network asked online platform operators to, first of all, identify these illegal practices, to take them down, and also to prevent similar ones from appearing in the future. So in March, only last month, Commissioner Renders wrote to many platforms, social media, search engines, and marketplaces to asking them to cooperate with the consumer authorities and to quickly remove these fraudulent practices from their platforms. In fact, I can say that the platforms indeed welcomed this call and reacted in a very positive manner. And in fact, they came back to us to indicate further measures they took or they are considering to take to address these illegal practices. For instance, they did some automated or human monitoring of the content, like using the keywords and categories of products at risk, at risk of these scams, for example, masks or hand sanitizers. They are using algorithms as well to detect abusive prices. They are informing the consumers and the traders on how to flag these unfair practices on the platforms, and they also put, for example, warnings on their sites. They temporarily ban the selling of some specific products, like, as I said, the hand sanitizers or gels, which are mostly, let's say, that the vulnerable consumers may easily fall for. They whitelist confirmed and reputable traders and delist, on the other hand, the traders who ignore the requests from these platforms to amend their offers. And last but not least, they cooperate a lot with various national authorities, including the police where necessary when in case of any fraud. So loads of products actually and offers and ads have actually been withdrawn, and we see that one of the biggest operators in the market even managed to remove over 1 million of these offers in 1 week, and also deducted thousands and thousands of abusive price cases. So this was a very successful CPC action, as you can see. So the CPC network also came up with a list of tips and tricks to the consumers to protect themselves from unfair practices and the way they should be cautious from. So we listed around 3 or 4 words of cautions when it comes to adverts which use language or images that suggest that a product can prevent or that it can cure COVID-19 infection, the uses of references to self-declared health professionals, or the use of name or logos of government authorities or international organizations which have allegedly endorsed these claims without providing official evidence. The use of text like, for example, only available today, sell out fast, lowest price on the market, only product that can cure COVID-19, or other similar text. And also the marking of products at very, very high prices in comparison to the normal price for similar products because they state that it can prevent or cure COVID-19. So in a nutshell, I think that this action has put the new CPC regulation to the test and has shown that the partnership and cooperation between the traders, the authorities, and the Commission is good and has given tangible results, as we can see. And most importantly, that the CPC regulation has proved to be fit for purpose, because as I said in the beginning, this has just been applicable since January 2020, and mainly in terms of efficiency and effectiveness, even during this crisis, which has been very challenging, as we have been hearing from the panel speakers, for consumers, especially the vulnerable ones. So I think this gives a very good overview of what the Commission is doing in terms of enforcement and also in terms of cooperation with the traders, I must say.
Thank you very much. And the CPS made his first stress test, really stress test, successfully. So we have nothing to improve, so it works like it is.
No, there are many things that we still have to put to the test in this CPC regulation. As I said, now the Commission has a new role in terms of coordination, and when it comes to widespread infringements with union dimension, meaning that 2/3 of the member states and 2/3 of the population are being affected, the Commission takes automatically a coordinated role. And also this regulation introduced the external mechanism alert system, where other stakeholders, like for example consumer organizations and traders organizations, and also the European consumer centers, can directly log in and insert details about infringements they become aware of, and this information can be used directly by the enforcers. So it will be made available directly to the Commission and to the national consumer authorities as well. So this also, we're trying to see how to detect these things, these infringements in a very effective manner, because now digital and online shopping is, let's put it that way, the rule of the day in this.
I have two questions left short, because we have also not only experts in our webinar. If the e-commerce platforms have such a case, they inform you, and then, but they're informing also the producer of these products. Is this?
Yes. Yeah, we try to cooperate as much as possible with the platforms, and we try to identify like the infringements that we find. And also they can also, because of the e-commerce directive, they have to make sure that the information provided on the website is correct as much as possible. So of course, yes, that the platforms then
they contact the producer, like Herbalife or whatever, and says there's a reseller, they use your market, your products with claims who is not allowed, and so on. And one thing, because we didn't discuss it so much now, excessive pricing. Where is the free market, and where has excessive pricing started? How is this definite? The definition of this? Because I know it from webcams. If I'm buying this from one platform, I pay four times, 5 times more than on the other platform. Where it starts is excessive pricing, where you can say it's not market anymore.
Yes, actually, the abusive pricing can violate actually the Unfair Commercial Practices Directive, the UCPD. For instance, when traders use pressure selling techniques, especially in Articles 8 and 9 of the UCPD, which is also an aggressive commercial practice, or they provide inaccurate information about market conditions or about the possibility of finding the product. These techniques are frequently used to make consumer purchase a product at higher than normal prices. And in the UCPD as well, in the Annex 1, there is a blacklist of prohibited practices, and number 18 corresponds to fooling consumers on market conditions. So in order to make them less favorable than normal market conditions. So in general, unduly exploiting vulnerabilities as well, like in case of fear and panic anxiety, which was also mentioned before, due to the pandemic, can also be considered as against professional diligence from the trader side. But I understand that from the platform, then in terms of pricing, it's still a free market at the end of the day, so we can't really enforce more than that, I would say.
Okay, yes. Thank you very much. But it's also good to know that if you use the lowest price and it's not true, it's also a violating of claims. Thank you very much. It was very interesting. And now we're coming to Olga Golaki and from DG Sante, and the floor is yours. And I think it's in other perspective now about direct on the claims. I think only for the introduction, 2,000 claims are at the moment in the pipeline. So are frozen because to proven if they can be used or not. Do you think it will now have an effect, this crisis? What's the lot of? Is it going faster? On the measures, please.
Well, more crisis than it was before. I don't know. Certainly, it complicates the situation a bit more. So thank you for giving me the floor. It is a very interesting discussion, and indeed the subject matter is extremely topical. I would like to start my intervention by, in fact, reminding you a bit of the EU rules in relation to the legislation on foods, and in particular in terms of advertising. And then I would like also to take the opportunity to inform you of action that DG Santé is taking in order to fight and to reduce such fraudulent products on the EU market. So to start with, I will refer to the regulation on food information to consumers. So according to this regulation, it is products, foods, advertising should not attribute to foods the property of preventing, treating, or curing a human disease, nor to refer to such properties. Therefore, it is very clear that in the EU, it is prohibited to attribute medicinal properties to foods. And this, of course, also applies to any reference made to COVID-19. In addition, the same regulation also provides that food information shall not be misleading, and it should not attribute to the food effects or properties which it does not possess. And this is the case both for the advertising, but also for the presentation of foods. Moving on now to the claims regulation, which is even more pertinent in our case. The claims regulation sets out, of course, a legal framework for using claims in the EU, claims which state or imply a relationship between foods and health. According to that regulation, only health claims which are allowed in the EU market can be used, and these are those that have been authorized by the Commission following a scientific assessment by the European Food Safety Authority. Health claims may be used in the labeling, the presentation, or the advertising of foods placed on the EU market only if they comply with this regulation, meaning that these claims shall not be false, ambiguous, or misleading. And we have the EU Register on Nutrition and Health Claims, listing all the authorized and all the non-authorized health claims, and it is publicly available to consult it. Final reference to EU legislation. This is the regulation on general food law, which stipulates that food business operators shall ensure at all stages of production, processing, distribution within their businesses that food satisfies law, which are relevant to the activities, and that the requirements are met. Now, in the current context, some member state authorities have observed and have informed the Commission that more and more products sold via the internet are being advertised as having a positive effect on the immune system, or, for example, as a protection against infection by coronavirus. Scientific evidence so far does not support any claim that any food or food supplement can protect against COVID-19. And to date, we don't have any such authorized health claims for example, for foods or food supplements as protecting against viral infection or boosting the immunity against a virus, any virus, in fact. Nevertheless, I should also point out, as also Patrick mentioned in his intervention, that we have authorized certain health claims that refer to the role of certain essential nutrients, for example, vitamin C, D, or iron, in contributing to the normal functioning of the immune system. But these essential nutrients, they can also find in a number of foods, and they can also be key to strengthening the body's immune system as part of a healthy and balanced diet. So all these observed sales of products claiming to prevent and cure COVID-19 has led to action that has been taken by certain member states authorities, sorry. And in view of this already national actions, let's say, and in order to facilitate a common and coordinated approach to these issues across the EU, more specifically DG Santé, has proposed a coordinated a coordinated action plan on online offers and advertising of foods related to COVID-19. This action is done in close cooperation with different DGs of the Commission, DG Just and DG Connect, let's say benefiting and getting the helpful established communication channels, but also in cooperation with Olaf or Europol, given their long experience in dealing with third countries in terms of operators in third countries. And more concretely, the action entails that in coordination with member states, the member states authorities, the Commission has called the member states to reinforce their vigilance and to adapt their controlling activities on online offers and the advertisement of foods related to COVID-19. And in particular, these actions entail, for example, to trace and identify websites, sellers, or operators with illegal practices, to follow up on identified non-compliances and suspicions of fraudulent practices on fraudulent practices, and then to strengthen the cooperation and the administrative assistance between the member states authorities and the controlling of the internet sales. And last action is, of course, to inform the consumers that products bearing claims relating to COVID-19 infection are illegal, and in certain cases they may even be injurious to their health. So this action has been officially launched on the 20th of April. That means that since that date, member states have been more systematically taking up these actions. And so far I can say that 15 member states support the action. And we are also working with colleagues in view of putting live a web page to communicate all this information, but also to, let's say, report on all identified fraudulent practices on a weekly basis. And finally, as a closing remark, I would just like to say that really it is a question of reputation and image of the industry. It is really for in food business operators' interest to be vigilant on the practices. At the end of the day, we all work for a common goal, and that is to ensure a fair and a safe EU market for our consumers, and that is to keep the trust of EU citizens still high. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think the closing from you could not be better, because we are coming from SMEs. If you're losing a client, you never get him back. If he has, you are losing him because of lack of trust. And I think this is in the mid and long term the interest of the industry to have with the consumer a good relation, because he is the client who is buying the products. I think I think what you presented, how to the action plan, I think it's very important to enforce also this consumer protection, because I think it's problematic to keep the overview over all these platforms and possibilities where consumers can order, buy, and so on. I think it's very important that there is a coordination, and it's in the interest of all. I have also a question. What is about if you say, because I saw this already here in Germany, if you say it could help, because sometimes we have now thousands of studies are coming on the out, like the last time from France, nicotine is saving you from coronavirus, and now nicotine could save you from corona.
Well, I have also heard another, sorry to interrupt you, another
Yeah.
very good one. Without, it could save you, but no documentation to prove that. I mean, you know, all these, they have to be assessed on a case-by-case basis,
Yes.
and we really have to see the whole context. I mean, if we hint that it, but it is not documented or it's not proved, still you're hinting it. Even if you state that it is not proved and it's not authorized in the EU, still you leave a small margin of hope to the consumer that it might actually help. Why not try it? It's a very challenging job, the one that the controlling authorities have to do. It's a very difficult job, the interpretation, the assessment of the national authorities to assess all these cases. But it's true that operators are often trying to find alternatives to still get their message across.
Yeah. We saw the last example also, that the consumers sometimes in the United States, the tip from the president of the United States with the disinfection liquid. I think it's you have not to underestimate it, that people are believing such stuff sometimes, not all, but some. Are there lessons for the refit, what you say? Will these lessons from this crisis also have an impact to these claims at refit? And it will be part, I think, also of the farm to fork strategy, or included.
Yes, for the moment it goes hand in hand, they move on together. About now the evaluation of the claims regulation, of course we continue to work to the maximum possible to our initial plan. Of course, the particular situation around coronavirus might require some shuffling or reprioritization of the task of the Commission. But let's say that there is hope that we will be able to be publishing at least the staff working document for the claims evaluation very shortly in the coming weeks, let's say.
Thank you. Now we have the time before we coming to the conclusion for questions, and there's a possibility to raise your hand digital for a live statement. You can write also a question. We have already two. I think one is related with Poland, for Mr. Marek Zoltowski. In Poland, we had a government decision to ban trade of hand sanitizers, gloves and masks on 2 domestic e-commerce platforms. Now the government is working on price control regulation, not UCPD or CPC related, to be imposed on retailers and wholesalers to control the excessive pricing of these productive goods and loans and essential food. Have you seen similar approach on the back of the COVID-19 measures proposed in other countries? So it's not directly with food, but I think a common problem. And in this point, I think only perhaps Stephanie, perhaps your answer, is this happening also in other countries?
Yes, actually, we realized from our assessment before the common position actually was published last month that this is happening in many, many member states, including Poland. If the participant is flagging Poland as a particular case, and in fact, tomorrow we will see in the press release that the national authorities are actually now doing a deeper assessment of the infringements they have flagged already in the past month. So now they will go deeper in the websites, they screen them, they scrape the websites, and even they come up with more measures, appropriate measures that they may take against these traders in case they confirm that these infringements are really present.
Thank you very much. And we have a second question from Peter Rübig. Can some special protein help to protect against the virus? I think this is perhaps, I think a very special question. I don't think, perhaps somebody has an answer, but I don't think so. Or Patrick, we have some solution already.
Well, look, this is a virus. It's an infection, and as far as we know, the food has never had an effect on infections. So the only thing you can do is keep hygienic measures as much as possible, but not food. And in any case, like Olga says, claims on products must be authorized first before they can be made, and that is no different with any effect that would relate to COVID-19. And I would even be stronger, because in relation to the example that Olga gave of statements saying that this may help, but there is no scientific certainty and so on, we would feel that this falls clearly under the definition of a health claim, because a health claim refers not only to statements that state, but also imply or suggest that there is a relationship between a food and a health benefit. So I would be very categoric here. There is no indication whatsoever that food can help against COVID-19. The only role that food supplements can play is the role that they play as supplement of the diet for normal people, for healthy people, just that they are necessary in order to help the body function in its normal functions.
Thank you very much. Ms. Buschke of the Federation of the German Consumer Organization sent me also an article, because I want to come back to these health claims, that there is a special problematic from the point of view from the German organization for botanicals, and in order to protect the consumers, and that Germany is calling for a harmonization for the claims. But we have in the same time this problem, but I say it fast, that 2,000 claims are pending. How we can find fast solution? I think we need fast solution. Can we have what is the problematic that these health claims need so long? I think as a normal consumer, I think it must be very simple if I have to understand it. What is so complicated that 2,000 health claims are pending and need botanicals as special attention? Perhaps Olga?
Yes, I must probably intervene on that.
I'm only, perhaps I make it very simple what summarized it.
No, I mean, the third botanicals now, it's already a very long, it dates quite long time now. Obviously, if there was a magical solution that we could use it to even overcome this COVID-19 crisis, then we would have used it a long time ago, obviously. We are really hoping that the evaluation on claims might shed some light and help on future decisions following the publication of the staff working document. Of course, this has to be seen, and depends also on the Commission work program. Now, about these 2,000 pending claims, of course, I mean, the situation does not change face to COVID-19. Unfortunately, we do still have not been assessed. They are on an on hold list. They can still be used with pros and cons in the situation for all parties involved: the consumers, the operators, the policymakers, the controlling authorities. But let's say the treatment is the same, the key message is the same. You do have the claims, those that are on the on hold list claiming immunity. They can be used to the extent that they respect the meaning of the claim that belongs to the on hold list. It's made for the substance for which is included in the on hold list, not for other substances or for other combinations, and also that the meaning is not twisted or taken further to make a link to a COVID infection or to any other viral infection. So yes, they can still be used. We have many claims, this I can confirm, relating to immunity. But of course, they have to respect the meaning of the Article 13.1 claims, which at the end of the day, they are functional claims. They contribute to a function of the body. In this specific case, it's the immune function.
Thank you very much. I think from this perspective, I have another webinar is coming in my mind. Artificial intelligence, it would be perhaps a solution to use it to analyzing the claims. And then we have results fast.
I will not comment on that.
But going new paths in this crisis. I think now we have still, before we starting with the solution, are there the questions left also from the speakers to speakers, or Ms. Schneider, perhaps you have also questions to the Commission or to the representatives already at the moment? So what we can expect now after the crisis, a new world of food supplements where we have now, we proved now the CDC. We have now exactly now an idea how to empower this consumer protections. And I think if they are not, one question is there now here from Thomas Albrecht. Is this paper still the newest version from the EU Commission regarding allowed health claims, EU number 432, 2012, it's from the 16th of May, 2012. Are there any other legal sources which can be used? So this is this paper, I think this is a refit paper.
I'm not quite sure I understand the question. I will try to answer. Well, 432/2012 is in fact the regulation establishing the permitted list. So yes, it is still valid as long as someone consults the consolidated version of that regulation, in the sense that the list is constantly updated once we authorize new claims. If the question refers to the existing on hold list, which is published on our website, I mean, the latest version is, of course, the one on our website.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you very much. And I think now if there are no questions left, we're coming to the conclusion. Christine Schneider, what we learned now from today and what we can bring to the consumers after this webinar. Please, the floor is yours. And unmute it, please. Henrik?
Okay, do you hear me? Yes. Can you boost your immune system against COVID-19? That's a question. The answer is yes and no. Proper nutrition and hydration are vital. People who eat well-balanced diet tend to be healthier with stronger immune system and lower risk of chronic illness and infection disease. So we should eat varied of fresh and unprocessed foods every day to get the vitamins, minerals, dietary fiber, proteins, and body needs. But dietary supplements cannot prevent infection. Therefore, it is utmost importance that food value chains are not disrupted and continue to function well and promote the production and availability of diversified, safe, and nutritious food for all without any misleading claims and excessive pricing. Despite the fact that the world is dealing with an exceptional situation, companies should not accept that we turn a blind eye to those unlawfully taking advantage of it. Any information, food supplement regarding preventing, treating, or curing COVID-19 or another human disease is not allowed. Advertisement promising the cure of the virus must be banned. With the 29 coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic, it's especially important to understand that no supplement diet or other lifestyle modification other than physical distancing, also known as social distancing, and proper hygiene practice can protect from COVID-19. Good nutrition is very important before, during, and after an infection. While no food and dietary supplement can prevent COVID-19 infection, maintaining a healthy diet is an important part of supporting a strong immune system. At the end, I want to emphasize that I'm not against nutritional supplements. I don't reject the controlled intake of vitamins, but misleading informations. Thank you for your attention and for the panelists for the very, very interesting and useful input. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Schneider. I think this was a very good conclusion. And I think, yes, we have to see it's useful, but we should not believe everything, and it must be also controlled. And I would like before I say thank you to all speakers, to invite the audience and also the speakers to our working group Health and Nutrition of SME Connect. It's a new working group who is the focus of SMEs, but also on the topics health and nutrition, but also players are invited from institutions, also from consumer protection, also larger companies are working together with SMEs or self-employment. We want to have a real exchange, and the consumer is in the focus. So thank you very much. Thank you to the Commission also. Thank you for the representatives of the associations. Stay healthy. And I have to say, it was very interesting. I learned a lot, and I hope you see us again. And visit our website, SME Connect. We have, I think, 12 webinars in the next coming 3 weeks. So we are very active, and we're covering all the topics. And the interesting thing is you can link really everything after a while, because you learn artificial intelligence, there is health, there is food, there's consumer, the retailers, it is linked everything, it's one community connected. Thank you very much.